Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
There you are. I can hear you loud and clear. How are you, Coach?
Good. How are you?
Well, it's always good when we can talk Fordham football. I'm excited. I had to get the Fordham shirt out for tonight,
I
and
appreciate that shirt. I took notice of it.
I said it's so good to have you on. I know you guys are right in the middle of camp, so I'm not going to keep you too long. I know how important your time is, so I appreciate you jumping on with me tonight.
No, happy to do it. And um, the guys we're heading into our kind of our last meetings of the night, so I have some time. So fire away.
Okay. So, Coach, let's talk about. We'll get to the upcoming camp and the schedule. I know I was just talking to the audience. I said I always talk to you guys in the Patriot League about the tough non-conference schedules that you guys play, and I talked a little bit about, the Patriot League and the Ivy League, who you were fortunate enough to coach in both leagues, about the rich academics and how much harder it is to recruit. But now the Patriot League offers full scholarships. Talk to us a little bit about how tough it is at Fordham and some of these schools academically.
Yeah, I mean it's a challenge. It's not that different from the Ivy in terms of you don't have to go as high as you had to in the Ivies and the league has kind of done a good job of helping us out, especially post pandemic, in terms of doing away with the academic banding system and things like that. And now it's just kind of based on a narrative about the student athletes' academic success. So you have to cast a wide net, and you stretch your staff pretty thin in terms of they're covering a wide area in recruiting, but it's fun. You get to meet a lot of really interesting people. You have great kids. You're not dealing with a lot of issues within your team from a behavior standpoint. These guys they know they have a future out there, so they do a great job on and off the field and in the classroom. So it definitely has its benefits. You just have to work at it and be diligent and be organized in recruiting.
Coach, how'd the offseason go for you guys? I know, obviously recruiting wise, but offseason workouts leading in the spring ball and then obviously up into camp. How's the offseason been for you guys?
I think it's gone really well. We're holding steady, pretty healthy at this point in time in camp. We just had our I think sixth practice today. So we're doing okay from a health standpoint. Guys are bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, moving pretty well on both sides of the line. So far so good, and I think the guys are in a good spot.
So, Coach, coming off last year, I was going back and looking at my notes. I said, "Man, your guys' schedule was brutal last year with away games. You guys, I believe, you're at Lehigh, at Holy Cross, at Dartmouth, at Bucknell. I think you guys were even at Bowling Green last year, and it was a tough schedule. But you guys had some injuries. I think you guys had some younger guys that had to step up for you. But I don't want to look at the past. But talk to us about the schedule last year and now last year, what you're looking forward to the most coming into this season."
Yeah, I mean it was 7 on the road. And I think it was backloaded, so I think we were home twice in the months of September and October. We were at home twice, that was a challenge. But I've been around some teams, where you rally around that, and I don't, I kind of like being on the road with the guys. It's just us in the hotel, and you really get to spend time with your team in those situations, which is a lot of fun. So, we had a decent amount of road games. We have the same amount this year. We're 7 on the road this year, just kind of a more front-loaded home game schedule, and it's spread out a little better, so that's good. So there are definitely challenges from an injury standpoint. I think it was for the final 8 games, we were down 17 guys from the 2 deep. Something like that. But that's part of the game, and you have to manage that, and guys have to step up, and it kind of was what it was, and a lot of guys did get experience that maybe we would have liked to hold on for a year, but that's okay, and that's great. Now you kind of take your lumps, and it was very similar to what happened to us at Yale in 2016. We had a bit tough year, and we go to play the JV game against Harvard, and we need all the talented freshmen on the JV team. So we lose that JV game, I think 63-0. And we got to the hotel, and Coach Reno, Tony was kind of freaking out a little bit, like, oh my, we get blown out in a JV game like that. What's going to happen in the varsity? And I said, we'll be okay. And I said, all our good JV players are playing tomorrow. We ended up, I think we started 6 freshmen on offense, and I think Sean and those guys on defense, they started 6 or 7 as well, but found a way to win the game. And game-winning touchdown pass was from a freshman, Kurt Rawlings, to freshman Reed Klubnik. So with 2 freshman offensive linemen protecting. So, it's good for those guys to get experience. They come in, they have a little bit different demeanor going into their sophomore year. And we have a lot of true freshmen that played last year that are now, kind of considered veterans, and that's a positive thing.
Coach, is there a position group so far at camp that you're really looking forward to that's really impressed you the most so far?
Well, yeah, it's kind of, that's a good question, interesting question. 2 days ago, I thought our offensive line had a really good day. Today I would say, our defensive line has been pretty consistent. We have good depth there. We have, upperclassmen, Claudia Robinson, Sam Burkle, John Scott. They've all played a lot of football for us. So the defensive line has been pretty solid. I think our secondary is doing a nice job for the most part. Obviously, have James Conway back in linebacker, so he's been himself. I think our wide receivers are taking a big step forward. They're playing a little bit faster than they played last year. Running backs, we're kind of finding out who's the guy and things like that, and that's been fun. And we have some guys taking some tremendous strides. And we have Jaden Allen back from last year at tight end, so that's been great. So, each position's kind of taken their turn. I would say the defensive line has probably been the most consistent day in and day out.
Coach, I feel like I've said James Conway for 100 years, and it's like he's played at Fordham for 20 years, and I know he was limited last year. I think he only played in 4 games for you because of injuries. How nice is it to have him back anchoring that defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's the greatest. He's a tremendous leader. He's a heck of a competitor. He every offseason workout, every offseason lift, he is always at a high level. I've never seen him flustered or frustrated or discouraged. He always just gives you everything he has. And it's going to be weird, and it was weird. I looked out there and I saw 47 for years, and it was always great to have Greeny. And now I have him as my director of ops, but it's going to be different when I don't see 48 in the middle of our defense. And I don't know if I'm going to like it, because he's special.
Coach, talk to us a little bit. Of course, the quarterback room is always the fancy one. Everybody wants to know who's going to be under center for you. And I know Jack played a lot of games last year, and I think he played behind Tim DeMorat when he was at Fordham, and I think he played a little bit under CJ too. But you got a pretty good quarterback room too this year.
Yeah, Jack came in 22, so he was here for Timmy's, the great year that Timmy had in 22. Was behind CJ in 23. And then, had to step in last year and for a lot of time did a really nice job for us and wasn't really protected like he should have been, but he fought. He's really back to back. He's put really 2 fantastic practices together. He's pushing the ball downfield. He's doing a nice job. Gunnar Smith transferred in. Gunnar's doing a great job. As well, he's had his last 2 or 3 have been really fantastic, and Trip Holly is also doing a really nice job. It's been fun to watch those guys compete every day, and they're really we're completing a lot more passes downfield than we did last year at this time, so it's been good.
So, Coach, and speaking of that non-conference schedule, you guys will open up against Boston College on that August 30th. And then I was talking a little bit before you came on the air, of how much, the history of Richmond now coming into the Patriot, how much stronger that it makes this conference. And I've always said, and people will still argue with me, and I still say the Patriot League still one of the best conferences, top to bottom, out there. Talk to us about, what Richmond brings to the table, the history, and how much that just strengthens the
Yeah,
Patriot
I
League.
mean, I think, this year and then, and certainly when Villanova and William and Mary come in, it's going to be a higher end FCS conference, multi-bid league. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously Richmond has historically been. I mean, I go back against those guys when I was at UNH. Competing against a Dave Clawson-led Richmond team, who was once the head coach at Fordham. So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, the Richmond has always had talent. It's a very good school, nice school, so it's a great fit for the Patriot League. They've done a tremendous facilities upgrade. And they've been, they won a national championship 15 years ago. So within our kids' lifetime, they've been the national champions. So I think it was 18 years ago, or 19. So yeah, I mean, they automatically, and they were a playoff team last year. So they automatically bring, that kind of pedigree to our league, which is fantastic. And, and at the same time, they kind of uphold the academic standards of the Patriot League, which is great. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I remember those days from the CAA, the old CAA, when you had JMU, Nova, Richmond, Delaware, William and Mary, UNH. And, it was a fist fight week to week, and didn't matter. Even Northeastern and some of the quote unquote lower end schools could beat you. And if you didn't come to play, and if you were overlooking what you perceived as a lower end school because you had JMU or Delaware coming up, you were going to get smacked around. So it was really a tough but really fun and a great league to be a part of. So that's what I'm looking for with our league. And yeah, it's been really good. The last couple of years. I mean, obviously Lehigh coming on, Kev doing a great job there. Cross has been really solid. Obviously, Bob did a really good job there, and Danny's doing a good job. So, now you got Lafayette. Johnny did a good job in 23. Bucknell, made some noise last year, and they were the only team to beat Lehigh in league. So, yeah, I mean, it's fun, and week to week, year to year, and we've always kind of acquitted ourselves well in the playoffs, especially lately. Certainly Cross and Colgate has made some runs. Danny had a good team at Colgate there in 2018. So it's been a really challenging league, and it's really grown, even since I've been in it, just with the recruiting and how teams are recruiting and who they're going after and who they're getting. It's been much more impressive and fun to be a part of.
So, Coach, some of the alum were messaging me because they were like, you got Coach on, you got to ask him this question, you got to ask him that. Some of them said, make sure you ask him and just say, what's Fordham have to do this year to get things turned around and have a bounce back year?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we got to protect the quarterback, right? 61 sacks last year is just a astonishing number. And there are a variety of reasons for that. It's not all on the offensive line, so I'm not pinning it all on them. We have to be a little quicker with our decision making. We have to do a better job against press man and things like that, which we have been doing. We've also been seeing a lot more of it in camp, which is good. We got to run the ball more consistently. We had a lot of games where we ran the ball for more than 200 last year, but then we had probably 7 where we ran the ball for less than 100. So, you got to have that balance. It can't be, hey, we find something this week to where, we're going to have 250 on the ground, but then the next week, against Holy Cross, we're going to run for 90 just because we can't figure it out, or we can't push those guys, or we can't scheme it up. So more consistency on the ground on offense. And we have to get back to the vertical shots downfield that, we did so well in 22 and 23. And a lot of that last year was just soft tissue injuries at the receiver position. So we never had kind of a consistent group. Defensively, we have to be a little stouter against the run, and I think we will with what we're doing and what we have up front. I think our secondary is going to be really good, so we'll be able to mix up coverage and things like that. So more consistency on defense, change the picture a little bit, some answers against some formational stuff that bothered us last year. And I think that staff, Alan Gann, James Lenahan, have done a really good job this offseason. So I'm excited to see what they can do.
So, Coach, I know you don't need motivation. We're always looking for bulletin board materials, but I got on the Patriot League because I'll be doing some stuff for them again this year. And they had Georgetown, Colgate, and Fordham picked at the bottom three. So I know we don't need bulletin board material, but that's got to pump up you and the coaches and the staff as well, right? And the players.
Yeah,
But that's what you want. Pick us
I'm not
towards
gonna
the
lie,
bottom,
and
right?
it certainly put a smile on my face when I saw it. You know, anytime you kind of get a free thing you can use, it certainly put a smile on my face.
Well, Coach, I'm excited because I think you come this way to play Colgate here. I'll get a chance to see you here, and then I'm going to bring my son out to a game this year. So hopefully, I'll get a chance to say hi to you in person and cheer on a win at Fordham, and see you here locally at Colgate.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know week of, and we'll get you guys squared away, sideline, all that stuff.
Sounds good. Well, Coach, get back to the team. I appreciate you. Go Rams, and I'll be pulling for you. I'll be following you. Hopefully, we'll chat again during the season.
Thanks, Rocky. Always a pleasure.
All right, Coach. Thank you. So let me fix my screen here. Let me get back to, where are you? There we go. There we go. Great to talk to Coach Conlin. Always good to me. I know these guys got meetings, so I didn't want to keep him too long. We'll talk to Coach Cahill here in just a little bit. He'll jump on. But, yeah, I mean, nobody needs bulletin board material, right? But Colgate, Fordham, and Georgetown were picked in the bottom three of the Patriot League. And I know Coach had said in another article that I saw online, I was going to bring it up. He said he's more motivated this year than ever. And they had a lot of injuries last year. A lot of injuries. You heard that they had to play a lot of freshmen. And actually, his quarterback, CJ Montez, just transferred over to Kent State to play for my roommate, another Fordham grad, Mark Carney. So there was he transferred, but I'm excited to see what they bring. I think they're going to be a lot better. I think defensively with Conway in the middle, I think they're going to be really good up front. Some of those young receivers last year, Coach talking about, they struggle to get off that press man. If you don't know football, if you can't get off a press man coverage, defense is getting after you. So they gave up a lot of sacks last year. So I think that'll help the boys out a little bit too this year coming into the season, is the ability to get off a press coverage. And Fordham in the back end is going to be a lot better this year too. So being able to mix coverages up and being able to do some different things. But no matter what level you talk to any coach, when I talk to the high school guys, they say the same thing. You got to be able to do two things. You got to be able to run the football, and you got to be stout against the run. And if you can do those things, stop the run the football, score in the red zone, you got a chance to be really, really, really good. So I'm excited to see what Fordham will do this year and bounce back. The other thing they're going to have, and Coach talked a little bit about it. Conway's going to be is the stud that's back. He was limited last year to 4 games. He is Fordham and the Patriot League leader in career tackles. So he's back this year. He's healthy. Hopefully he can stay healthy because he's a huge part of what they do defensively. And then on the back end, Alex Kemper, who's a senior defensive back, is back, and he'll be leading. He's the anchor that back end on defense. So excited. Experienced quarterback room. What he was talking about, Jack, who played behind Tim DeMorat, who had one of the best seasons in Fordham history at Fordham, and then obviously played a little bit behind CJ before CJ got hurt and Jack stepped into the starting role. So I think we'll have a good bounce back year, and that'll lead into talking to Coach Cahill, who knows about bounce back years because from his first year to last year, one of the biggest turnarounds in FCS in all of Division One. Turned it around and won 9 games last year, won the Patriot League, got into the playoffs, made some noise in the playoffs, and now they are picked first in the Patriot League. So everybody is going to be coming for Lehigh this year. And I got a surprise for Coach when I get him on, because I told him the last time, next time I interviewed him, I was going to have a Lehigh shirt. So I might just have a surprise for Coach when he jumps on. I didn't want to wear a Lehigh shirt with my alma mater on. So we'll talk to Coach Cahill. And again, these guys, Last year, Lehigh went 9-4. They were 5-1 in the Patriot League. They had the big win over Richmond in the playoffs. They got beat to Idaho in the playoffs. The play at Idaho and that dome was crazy. They had the big win over Lafayette, who Lafayette Lehigh. I know you talk Ohio State, Michigan, you talk Army, Navy, you talk Auburn, Alabama. If you haven't experienced a Lafayette Lehigh game, it's one of the oldest rivalries in college football, period. FCS level, Power Four level. It's one of the best rivalries in college football. We'll talk to coach about that one. They won last year 38-14 over Lafayette. So we'll talk to coach a little bit. They're going to open up against Richmond, so they know each other extremely well. As Coach Conlin said, Richmond's coming over to the Patriot League, and then you're going to get Villa League. You're going to get William and Mary coming over to the Patriot League. Is going to make the Patriot League that much stronger than what it already is. So we'll talk to Coach Cahill about that. And then they're going to be down here at Colgate this year. So it'll be nice to see Kevin come down here to Colgate. I'm sure a lot of the local people here across the Mohawk Valley that know Kevin will try to get out to that game. I know I'm going to try to get out to that game and watch him play Colgate. And then they do play at Lafayette this year, so they'll travel. That'll be the last game of the season. We don't ever want to look ahead, but that one is always the last game of the season. They had their 13th Patriot League title they won last year, and they had the second largest turnaround last year, winning 9 games. And as I said, they're picked first in the Patriot League. So we'll talk to Coach about that. We'll talk about how camp's going. His staff, their expectations this year. They had a great recruiting class coming in, as did Fordham with a good recruiting class coming in. And recruiting now in the Patriot League is so much different than, again, recruiting years ago in the Patriot League. So, again, with being able to offer full scholarships now versus, years ago, it was the grants and blah, blah, blah. It was tough to get in academically. So a lot of that stuff has changed, which I think has helped. And I think the ability to play against big time college football teams like Fordham's going to open up against Boston College. They've played Navy before. They've played Army. They play a lot of the Ivy League schools. They've played Syracuse. Colgate plays Syracuse every year, so that's a great recruiting thing to come and play at Colgate if you get a chance to play Syracuse, which is really special. So a lot of that stuff has changed over the years, and I think it really helps with recruiting. In that transfer portal that no coach wants to hear because every year you lose kids. And it's like the FCS schools, sort of like basketball, right? You get the mid-majors in basketball and you get them for like a year and then they transfer out and you see them playing in like North Carolina or Duke or one of the big schools. And I think sometimes it could be the same for the Patriot League is they may get kids for a year or two and then they decide to transfer. But again, you're coming to a Patriot League school to get a great education, play really good football, and then when you graduate, the alumni base at these programs like Lehigh and Colgate and Fordham and Bucknell, the alumni support that you get when you graduate is unbelievable. So a lot of contacts, a lot of doors for jobs, careers, which is great. I know they do it all over the place, but I've always said I think the Patriot League and Ivy League schools, the alumni base is special. So when you go to those schools, it's similar to like the academies, right? You're going to the academies to get a good education, and then you're going to serve our country for the United States, and you're going to play big time college football. Navy almost beat Ohio State a few years ago. I think it was a few years ago, right? And you see now Navy, the Armies, and the Air Force. I think Army, Navy are going to be ranked. I think the rankings came out today. I think I saw Army in there, but Army, Navy are tough outs every year, and Army and Navy will play the Patriot League schools. So a lot of experience, but again, recruiting I think has changed over the years. So we'll talk to Coach Cahill here in just a moment. He's just getting ready to log in, sign in now. I'll bring him on, and then I got a special thing for him. I'm going to have to do live on the air, so you'll have to bear with me when he jumps on, because I think the last time he was on me, I think I did have the Fordham shirt, and he was going to send me one, but I said, "Don't worry about it. I got one." So soon as I bring him on, I will I'll surprise him with something that I have for him. So I'm excited for Coach Cahill to come. He's got a great staff too. These guys all have great staffs. So Coach Cahill has Coach Nagy, who was my defensive coordinator when I was at Fordham. He also has Coach Hunt, who was the head coach at Colgate. So he's got a great staff um, on his staff, and as a young coach like him, having those coaches available to you is awesome. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to shut up here and quit talking and bring Coach on. Coach, hold on 1 second. I got a surprise for you. If I can take my screen off here, so I know you can see me, but let me just switch up my screen here. So just bear with me. Gonna switch this up. All right. So you can hear me, right, Coach?
Yeah, I got you. You got me? You
I
can hear
got
me?
you loud and clear. So
There we go.
I didn't want to do this on the air because I got the Fordham shirt on and Coach Conlin would have kicked my ass. But I got to take this off because I do have a Lehigh shirt on underneath. So give me a minute.
There we go. There we go.
All right. So hopefully
love
he's
it.
not watching. I think he had
love
a
it.
team meeting. So
Well, I just got out of mine, so I can take. I'm going to take a screenshot and send it to him. Make sure he's aware of.
so
who
he was
you're truly
busting
a
my
fan of.
chops. He goes, I got to be before Cahill. I can't be after. I'm like, Coach, I'm Fordham. I got to have you on first, right?
Absolutely.
So
It's
what's going on,
understood.
man? How are you?
We're good. We're good. We just finished another I think we're in practice 5 today, going on to 6 tomorrow. So we're in the heat of it. It's been good. You know, it's been a fun preseason and long way to go to get to where we really want to be. But it's fun to be around the kids. It's fun to it's an energetic group and they're working hard. So
I got to tell you, all I see on Twitter, man, is like the nest is rocking and like all these Lehigh, like I haven't seen so much Lehigh on Twitter in probably the last few years. And it's like everywhere I look, I see Lehigh. Talk to me a little bit about the off season for you guys, from recruiting to what it was like for conditioning, leading up to spring ball and the camp. How much excitement is there at Lehigh?
yeah, there's a lot right now. It's been it's a fun place to be at. And listen, like when we took the job here, this is what we thought it was going to be. You know, we thought Lehigh was a power. We thought Lehigh should be in the playoffs every year. We thought it just needed to be brought back. And we're not. You know, a great year last year, but we're not where we really need to be yet. You know, we don't have the stability. We don't have. We need another recruiting class. We need another one after that. You know, until you have its true stability. So it's good. The offseason was great. The kids are working. You got to flush last year as fast as you can, which is hard.
Yep.
Kids, I think everybody. It's human nature to fall in love with yourself and think you're so good and all that. And as a coach, that's the fun part. You got to bring them back down to earth, and we did a good job of that. And it took them a little bit to get past the playoff run and to move on from that and the championship. And now none of that matters. Like none of that is relatable to this team. While there's some guys on this team that were on last year's team, it's a whole new year. And trying to get kids to understand that it's fun, man. That's part of the drive as a coach. That's what you want to do. You'd much rather be in this position than the position we were in a couple of years ago where everybody counted us out.
So I was talking to Coach Conlin. I said, coaches don't need bulletin board material, but I said, Coach, I'm going to give you one. And he knows. I said, Colgate, Fordham, Georgetown picked in the bottom. And it's the opposite for you guys, right? You guys were picked at the bottom or the middle of the pack to the bottom, I think, a couple of years ago when you took the job. And now everybody's coming after you guys because you guys were picked to win the Patriot League next to Richmond. So talk to us a little bit about that.
It's a different mindset. You got to talk through it. You got to talk through to the players that last year was easy, and nobody had any expectations for you. And this year, everybody has expectations for you. So, we did a lot of research in the off season and we put some projects on our players and research projects and stuff like that. And they did a really good job with it. And, really, really have the hunting mindset. You got to be able to hunt. It doesn't matter if you're predicted to win the league. You still have to be able to hunt and be on the attack mode. And, we'll see. I think we're in a good spot with that mindset, but you don't know until you're tested with any team. And the team we have right now will be a completely different team than the one we have in mid-October. And that's when you truly know who you are.
And I was just, again, from talking to Coach, I said, now you guys played Richmond, you got them in the playoffs at their place, and, now they come in the Patriot League, and then you look and you see Villanova's coming in the Patriot League. You're going to get a really good William and Mary team, right, that's coming in the Patriot League that's going to strengthen this league even more, top to bottom. Talk to us a little bit about that here with Richmond coming in and then Villanova and William and Mary down the road.
Yeah, this is pretty unique. We open up with Richmond at home, and we played them last year and finished their season last year. So obviously they're excited to play us. They want to right the wrong from last year. We know that. We're why wouldn't you? And then our league just continues to get stronger. It's not like we lost anybody.
Yep.
Ross is still here, Fordham's still here, Colgate's still here. The true blue bloods of Patriot League football are all still here, and all of us have gone into playoffs and made runs. And then you add Richmond, obviously, you add William and Mary, and you add Villanova. Richmond and Villanova have won national championships.
Yep.
And you mentioned Colgate. Colgate played and won not too long ago. So that's the stuff you grow with this league. It's pretty awesome. It's also challenging. It's also going to be a challenge. So, you got to look at what you're doing recruiting wise, what you're doing development wise. Are you doing enough to get the talent you need to compete with those guys?
Coach, you got a special defensive lineman that was picked as the defensive player of the year. Talk to us a little bit of how special Matt is as a player.
Yeah, Matt's different. He's driven, differently. Matt, sometimes the best players you have are really good athletes. Like, he's an exceptional basketball player, actually, when we had some pickup games and stuff like that. And he's just super competitive. He doesn't want to be held down. He doesn't want to be held back. He wants to go. We have to put the governor on him in practice. Otherwise, we can't get anything done. He's going against some other guys that he just makes look foolish at times. And he's just driven. He's driven. He's here because he wants to get his degree from Lehigh. Last year he was poached. They tried to poach him, and Matt didn't want to leave. Matt wanted to continue to finish what he started here and continue to go. He's a very loyal kid. He's a very hardworking kid. Comes from a great family. I can't say enough good things about Matt. He's what Patriot League football is all about. You go and get a great degree, and we'll see what happens after this year. But he's been a tremendous player for Lehigh.
I know you talked about, the expectations when you got here. This was the expectations, right? Because when I played, Lehigh was always the team to beat. They were always in the playoffs when I was at Fordham. And were the season you had last year, and I know you don't want to look back at it, but I would say you guys probably overachieved, right? In your second year, but those were the expectations. You don't look back, but going forward, it's like the bar's already been set. Now it's really tough to stay at the top, right? Once you get there.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, like kids want the instant gratification, and that's kind of what we had. In year two, all of a sudden we're winning a championship, and it's like, it's not typically how it goes. And we were fortunate enough to, we won the league last year. It was great. Everything fell into our favor, and we did a great job with it, and we won a playoff game. It was awesome. Lehigh's back, and you look at that and like, we're not quite. We have a lot of work to do. We had a huge first year class last year. We had to develop, and all they knew was success. And there's some good things about that. Like, all they know is to win. So we had to build on that, and we still have to build on that. And we'll have some bumps in the road. We'll have some bumps in the road in preseason camp. We'll have some bumps in the road early in the season, and it's just a matter of how do we manage those. We had them last year. How do we manage those bumps in the road, and how do we continue to focus on ourselves? It really doesn't matter what the rest of the league is doing. Is can we show up and be our best version every Saturday?
And Coach, you had so many guys last year had great seasons for you. This year, you got 7 guys named to the All Patriot League, and one of them I know that's special for you in the backfield is Luke. Talk to us a little bit about him and what he brings.
Yeah, Luke's just gotten better each year. Just no nonsense, does the work. One of our strongest players, pound for pound, one of our strongest guys, one of our most explosive guys. He actually won the award in the weight room in the off season. He's dedicated. Kid from football family. Dad played in the league. Dad played at Vanderbilt. He knows football. He's very, very smart. We don't have to say too much to him. It's more calming him down because he's so excited at times, and just keep bringing him back up. But we're successful because of guys like him and Matt. Matt Spatney and Luke Yoder do a great job for us. They're great leaders by example. They don't have to be the rah-rah guys. They can just get out there and do the work. And Luke has done it. Luke has done a great job, and we're excited for this year. He's going to continue to grow and bigger, faster, and stronger. And he knows what it takes in this league now.
And you guys get a chance for you. I was just talking about it. I said he gets a chance to kind of come home right to this area. You get a chance to come here and play Colgate. I know you don't like to look ahead, but how special is that going to be for you to get a chance to come a little closer to home, right, and play here at
Yeah.
Colgate?
It's awesome. I've been there a few times there a couple years ago. Probably played one of the worst games of my short career as a head coach up at Colgate, and we looked terrible. We played terrible. It was bad, and so you want to go back up and have a better showing. But anytime you get that's home to me. That's home. Playing Hamilton High School is a rival of ours, and
Yep.
it's always pretty special to go back there, and I know a lot of people up there, and it's great to stay in Utica, and back where I grew up, and so it's pretty special.
Is there a position group right now at camp, coach, that's impressed you the most? That might be ahead of where you thought they would be coming into camp?
I think we have experience at the running back room. We have experience in the D line. The offensive line had a couple questions. They're doing a good job of pushing through. The receivers, we've got a couple guys that have a little bit of experience here and there. I've been impressed with linebackers. We lost an all-conference, all-everything
Yep.
Lehigh linebacker last year, and Mike Danucci. He graduated as a fifth-year grad student, and we've got two guys coming in to fill in, and they've done a good job from the spring until now. And kind of unfortunately, but fortunately for those two, is they got to play a lot in the playoffs because we lost Mike in our last game of the regular season. He broke his ankle and he missed as a fifth-year senior. He won a Patriot League, didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs, which broke my heart because he gave so much to Lehigh. But it gave these guys an opportunity to play at Richmond and to go out to Idaho and have significant snaps, which is going to help us this year.
And coach, talk to us a little bit, if you can, about the quarterback room. You got some upperclassmen, you got some young guys. Talk to us about what that room looks like.
Yeah, we're young. We are. Last year was kind of worked out exactly the way we wanted to, and I think Dan did a fantastic job. Dan Hunt is one of the best coaches I've been around, and he did a great job with that room, and with a fifth-year senior and a freshman, and the way he balanced it, and just open and honest communication, and just Dan being who he is, just a great
Yep.
human being. He did a great job with that, and now we have a freshman that's had a ton of reps that will be a sophomore for us, and we have another sophomore that comes in and plays as well, and they're best friends. And they're roommates, and they hang out all the time together. And that's hard to do this day and age. It really is. Everybody wants their own. They're in for their own. They want to do whatever they want to do for themselves, but not those guys. They've done a really good job of putting the program first, and whatever we got to do to win. That's their mindset, and that's a lot of the guys' mindset. But it's particularly in that room, and when that room is like that, you got a chance.
Yeah, I always brag, and I know I bring it up all the time to you, but having the experience of Coach Hunt and then Coach Nags, who was my defensive back coach at Fordham, having that as a young coach like yourself with those
Yeah.
guys around you, I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that.
No. There's so many days I go in and Coach Hunt will look at me and just start laughing. He goes, "I'm glad I'm not in your office. That's a your office problem." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Just great quality men. That's what you want to be around. You want to have fun. It's fun to come into work. We laugh, we joke, we get to work, we do it. We're mentoring kids. We're having a blast with it, and just good people. You want to be around good people, and Coach Nagy and Coach Hunt are two of the best. And I was very, very fortunate to bring them here when we came in, and they've been awesome.
So this year's team, coach, and again, we're not going to look at last year's team, but what's different about this group compared to your group from last year?
I think we're a little younger, actually. We've got probably a bigger senior class that's going to play for us, but we're only we're sophomore laden probably. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting team. We're not afraid to work. They're not afraid to work. They're not afraid to put the work in and get out there and give the energy that we need at practice, all that stuff. We've got to, as any coach is going to say, we're terrible at execution right now. We've had 5 practices, so we're not very good. So it'll be interesting to see how we grow there. We just had a team meeting. I just left it challenging them in certain ways, and interested to see how they're going to respond to each other. So it's going to be a fun team. It's just a matter of what we are now compared to what we are at the end of preseason and where we are bye week. When we get to the bye week, you got to see where you are. We'll have 2 league games under our belt at that point, and then see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think too, bringing Richmond over, and then again, I think the league top to bottom is a tough game. Week in and week out.
Yeah.
And again, I'm looking at some of the teams again in the schedules. It's like you guys really got to grind every week, because every team I think has gotten better. Bucknell's been there, Holy Cross has been there, Fordham's been there in the past, and Coach Fitz will get Colgate going.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, there's no doubt in my mind he'll get that thing going. But it just seems like with the coaches in this league, it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, it is. It's a great league, and you named them all. You look at Bucknell. They're, in my opinion, that's probably the team to beat this year. They've got that quarterback that's really good. They got a running back that's really good. They run a really good offense. They got a new offensive coordinator who's really, really good. I've known him for years. He does a great job, and everybody counts Colgate out. It's Colgate. They're always going to be good. They're always going to be there, and we got to go there in November. I know what it's like to go up there in November. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be. They're going to fight. Fitz has had a lot of success. He's going to do a great job there.
Yep.
He's going to get it rolling, and just it's not going to take him long. He knows what he's doing, and he's got a good staff to do it. And Fordham it's week in and week out. Everybody's going to be. If you show up and don't play well, you're done. You got no shot. Everybody's the parity in this league is. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter if you make the play or not.
I was really hoping you guys would play Colgate earlier in the year, because every time I go watch Colgate play Fordham plays them in November, and it's either snowing out, it's a downpour and raining out. And I'm like, can't I just get there when it's like 85 degrees and sunny?
Yeah.
And I'm like, But
I think there's three of those days in the summertime in good old Hamilton, New York, and you got to pick one of them.
That is very true. But all right, man, listen, I won't keep you much longer. I appreciate you jumping on, and I know you've always been good to me. I pull for you every game but one.
I appreciate
stay
that.
Loyal.
I appreciate that, and I agree with you.
Gotta stay loyal, but I can't wait to see you. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see you during the fall, and good luck.
Great.
I know we'll do it again.
Rock, thanks again. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
You got it, man. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, Coach.
Bye now.
So that's Coach Cahill, and he's always been good to me. And hopefully he didn't take a picture of me with the Lehigh on, because I don't want Coach Conlin to see me in a Lehigh shirt. But as I just said, I pull for Coach every game but one, and it's a game he plays Fordham. I can't pull for him against my alma mater. So thanks to Coach Conlin, thanks to Coach Cahill, two of my favorite coaches to talk. Coach Fitz and Colgate will be on with me. As I said earlier, too, we'll have the high school coaches will be on with me over the next couple weeks, because they're getting ready to start here in a couple weeks. So much more to come here on the 46 Power Podcast. So thanks, Coach Conlin. Thanks, Coach Cahill. Thanks to you for tuning in tonight with me. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you again here on the 46 Power Podcast. Have a good evening, everybody.